Is it the commercially record, I believe, or is it just all about, or
So are you talking about like recording of our songs?
yeah,
Yeah, so as I said, with Shine, we recorded the drums out in Ballyhan, and we'd done a good bit of work out in Ballyhan, so we were kind of comfortable with the spot. So that's where we used to do all our recording. But now it all happens here, like in this room. Like I don't know if you can see much around me, but
and of
there's like
course,
a
like
drum
give
kit
us a,
there,
give us a
and
little tour.
so then there's like amps and stuff over there, and there's a couple of keyboards over there. It's hard to do it with the with the keyboard, but yeah, it happened. It all happens here now. Like the next three singles that will be coming out are fully recorded here. You actually was fully recorded here, but that's very stripped back, so it was kind of easy to do here.
Oh, so you're
But
really living in the recording, like you're literally like, I suppose, breakfast, lunch, and dinner music is what
yeah,
it's done like, yeah.
yeah, like I have a part-time job, and when I'm not doing that, I try and get in here. Like, if I finish up at half five, 6 o'clock in the evening, I'll try and get in here for a couple of hours, and then on my off days, I'll try and get in here. And then usually one day a week, I work with Billy Hurley as well, who's also on Bit Depth, and I produce tracks for him. So it's yeah, I'm constantly in here, to be honest.
Virgin in it, like absolutely. And is it hard? Like juggling that? Is that, do you find it difficult, or are you just, you've probably grown used to it at this stage?
Yeah, I think like the fact that I was in college and I was having to juggle that and do music at the same time. Like this was
Yeah.
like I just, as I said, I just finished college, so this was my fourth year, my final year. Like I had like a thesis and stuff to do, like, and I ended up really being the most prolific that I'd ever
Yeah.
been in that year. So
Yeah.
I think getting used to juggling that, and even when bit depths were going on, we were releasing music, putting on shows, doing college. I'm kind of used to juggling stuff at this stage, and do you know what? It doesn't really even feel like work because I like doing it so much. Like I was even talking to someone the other day, and they were like, "Oh, you off today?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I'm going to go into the studio," and they were like, "I thought you said you were off." And I
Yeah.
was like, "Yeah,
Is it
that
what?
is my
What?
off day."
Like
Like,
you're not doing anything else. You're like, well, I'm doing what I want to do. So yeah,
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. But it's.
yeah.
I think yeah, you touched on it there. It's more when like pressure comes about and you've more stuff to do. Like you said, your thesis there in final year, and like juggling that with music. It. I think you can sometimes surprise yourself at what you can handle, and like the pressurized situations, how comfortable you almost get in them. And then it
Yeah.
just becomes an everyday situation where you're like, this is what I want to do. And like you said, on your day off, I'm just going to make music and you enjoy it. So that, yeah, it's that balancing act. And we've obviously found it. Like, so yeah, no, it's intriguing. I suppose, how did you form? You all met in college, isn't it?
We all met in college, yeah, and I suppose like Gavin was the first person that I kind of became close with in college within the first couple of weeks. Like I met
Yeah.
all the lads, but I connected with Gavin because he was the drummer, and it's so rare that you come across like a drummer that isn't in another band already. And he actually was in another band already.
Hasn't been
They
snapped up. Yeah.
yeah, and he had been snapped up, but it was grind because that band was in Waterford and he was in Limerick at the moment, so he was up here a good bit of the time, so it was fine. But yeah, I met him first, and then we kind of jammed a small bit, and then we actually had actually the bass player who's in the band now, Emmett. He originally started with us, and so it was me, Gavin, and Emmett. We played a couple of gigs and we released a song called Soho. So we were a three piece at that time,
Okay.
and then we brought in Keegan, who's on guitar now, and then he went on to bass for a while, and we were three pieces that. And then we brought in another bass player called George, so we were a four piece. And then we brought in Chris, who's on keys and saxophone, and now George is gone, and now Emmett's back on bass, who the original bass player. But yeah, it was kind of all over the shop. But now
Chopping and
there's
changing. Yeah.
yeah, chopping and changing. But the five piece now that it is at the moment is me, Emmett, Chris, Gavin, and Keegan. And but yeah, we all met in college. So
And like, I suppose, did you click straight away, or was it like just a gradual, I suppose, push towards, hey, you make music, I make music, let's jump into it together, or was it straight off the bat, let's do
yeah,
this thing?
like I remember straight off the bat with me and Gavin, we were like, let's jam, because I was like, here's a drummer. I was like, I got to jump at this opportunity because I'm in a
Yeah,
music course. I was like, someone else is going to jump on top of him if I don't. So,
yeah, yeah,
so like,
absolutely.
but we clicked, and we ended up having like a similar taste in music like straight away. So that really worked. And I remember Keegan kind of came over to my gaff one day, and we were kind of just showing each other songs, and we it hadn't even come into our minds that like, was he going to be in the band yet? It was just kind of like we were just like listening to music and just having a bit of a laugh, and then I was like, he'd be a good addition. So we just brought him in, and that was kind of the same for all of it. It just,
Yeah,
we kind of just realized as we kind of progressed and as we started to need more members of the band, we were just like, Chris is really good at music. He's he's a good friend of ours. Why don't we ask him to join and stuff like that?
Yep.
And that's been the case the whole way along. So yeah, no, it all really kind of fell into place.
Nice. Like, are you from a musical background?
Not really, like my grandmother sings and my mom sings, but never like not to like a professional extent, or like it just
Yeah.
would have been in choirs and stuff like that. But that's definitely where I got it from. Like from a young age, my nan would like bring me to choir practices and stuff like that, and definitely in when I was younger growing up, I was in school choirs and stuff like that. But no one really plays any instruments in my family. Like I got a couple of lessons off my cousin when I was younger, and he kind of started guitar off for me. But other than that, no, I don't really have a musical family.
And what age was it like that you knew straight away, like, oh, this is it. This is what I want to do, and started taking it a bit more serious, or was it just gradual? Did it just kind of happen over the years, or was there a light bulb moment where you were like, no, 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 I'm actually good at this. I'm taking it all the way.
Yeah, I suppose there always from a young age I said I wanted to be a musician, and I didn't know in what sense of the word that was going to be, but I
Yeah,
always knew music was going to be a part of my life. And I suppose when Monday Villains kind of started to take off a small bit and we started to get gigs kind of outside Limerick, I was like, we could actually do this
do this,
as like
belief.
full time.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
then obviously that kind of stopped, and we went to college and stuff like that. And for a brief moment, I was like, oh, is that it in terms of me like playing in bands and stuff? And then I suppose when I went into college then for music production, I was like, okay, I want to do music full time. This is all I want to do. Because as
Yeah,
soon as I got in there, I knew it. I met like-minded people. I was like, these are the type of people that I needed around me all the time. So once I
absolutely.
kind of found that clique and that crew, yeah, no, I just from then on I knew it. And even now, like I don't think there will ever be a time where I will turn my back completely on music. I just
Yeah.
can't. It's so ingrained into my life at this stage. Even if it's not going to be me like performing on stage, writing my music, I'd love to be like doing sound or doing lights or recording other people, like because producing music is what I love doing. And like even if,
Yep.
as I said, if it's not for me, I'd love to work with just so many other artists. So
I was going to ask you that. Would you be open to writing for someone else, or have you actually at that?
Yeah, I've written a couple of songs for other people. Nothing that's actually been released. But yeah, like even with Billy, like he usually writes his songs and brings them to me. But in terms of the arrangement and stuff like that, like we'd be adding guitar parts, adding drums, adding
Yeah.
bass and keys and stuff like that. And like a lot of that would come from me, like and him as well. Like he's always there, and he'd be like, oh, I think like some keyboard sounds might sound nice here, or that kick drum or snare should be changed, stuff like that. And it's all kind of bouncing off each other. But I definitely love to write and produce for more people. At the moment, I'm kind of really busy. Like a
Of
lot of the
course.
time,
Yeah.
I'm
Focus on
working on my
yourself.
own stuff and
Yeah.
working on stuff with Billy. But yeah, definitely in the future when I get some spare time, I'd love to work with some other artists.
And I think that's part of it with a band. Well, I would assume. I've never been in a band, unfortunately. I've been lucky. But my talents, they'll come out someday. But no, I think it's like you were saying there, when people have their different inputs to the music, it's just a culmination of like all of you together as a group coming through the music. So if you're on your own, like you said, you can overthink things and you can be over analytical, which is of course natural and can be good. But it is, I do think, better to have people, whether it's brutal honesty or whether it's building you up and being like, no, that's actually brilliant, we'll go with that. Like, does you find it easier working with people? Because I remember you saying at the start when you were writing music on your own, like, do you find, I suppose, being with the lads has helped you be more creative and I suppose more open to making different kind of music?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Like me and Culla, another artist on Bit Depth, we did an EP together back in. We were recording it over like 18 months, but we released it in March, and that was the most collaborative I think I've ever been on any project. Like even with the band, like even though there's four of us or five of us in the band
Yeah.
now, that's definitely been the most collaborative I've ever been on a project, because I like shared the lyrical writing, like we shared like the melody writing, like the production and stuff. It was across the board, like it was a very collaborative thing. And it was nice to do that because a lot of the time, like the ideas can be very precious, especially lyrics. Like if I'm
Absolutely.
sitting down writing a song
Yeah.
and someone's like, "Oh, would you be open to changing the lyric to this?" And I'm like, "But it means this
No.
to me."
Yeah.
Yeah, and
No.
like even
Yeah.
going back to, because sometimes you're worried that it'll take the personality out of it because if something is so personal to you. But I think what happened with me and Culla on that EP was we really got into each other's heads, and we knew to a fine detail what the songs meant to each other, and
Yeah.
that allowed us to have a deeper insight into what the songs meant and allowed us to suggest lyrics to each other. And I think I think yeah, it's definitely made me more open, like 100%, even to just trying different styles and stuff like that. I definitely would have been very rooted in like indie kind of band music
Yeah,
when I first met the lads, and now like like Keegan has his own project called Evoke, and like they kind of do like kind of pop, kind of trad folk stuff, and
yeah, yeah.
Gavin would have been like a metal drummer when I first met him, so he kind of brings like a heavier kind of trashier side
It's
into
a lot of
stuff that
diversity, like.
yeah, there
Yeah.
is. Yeah, like it's huge, and but yeah, no, there and like the creative abilities. I think all of us have grown since meeting each other. I think everyone will say that, and yeah, no, we're all so grateful for ending up in that course, like because it really did change our lives.
Yeah, no, it sounds good. It sounds like you've a pretty good, like, tight knit group, which
Yeah,
can only, I suppose, make the music better, and actually makes the experience of when you see the music being released and the feedback you get more
mm,
enjoyable.
it
'Cause
definitely,
it's like
yeah,
we
like
put that in, and now we can see like the results, and it's just to share that with other people has to be a form of pride. It just has to be.
yeah, exactly. And even when we were finishing up college, like they were asking us for like kind of like information and feedback and stuff like that. And I remember they asked for like a quote, and I ended up saying that this course has taught me that you can complete a project on your own, but it's a lot more fun to do it with a group of friends. So and I think that's the main thing to take away from it. Like I do and I can produce music on my own, but at the end of the day, it's way more fun if you're getting someone else, like, oh, do some drums here, or do a backing vocal there, or put a
Yeah.
guitar in it. It makes it more of a collaborative experience. So
Gigs. I actually I frustrate the life out of people when I ask them this because I know there is no consistency in basically the world right now, and you can't organize anything. It's tough. But is there any plans for any gigs upcoming that you're looking towards or hopefully getting around to?
there is we have dates locked in for a Limerick gig. I don't want to announce them now because as you just said, things are so
Yeah,
fragile at
exactly.
the moment in terms of restrictions. But we have something locked in, and we've been offered support slots and stuff like that. Unfortunately, we've had to turn down support slots because we weren't around. But the yeah, gigs are coming back, which is great to say because it's been so long.
Yeah, it's been a rough one. It
Yeah,
has.
it's been very like it's been over 18 months for us now, and
Yep.
like we were just kind of getting into the swing of things. Like we, as I said, we had that tour book, so I think the main thing is to obviously we've a Limerick date booked for not so long away, and hopefully we get to announce that soon, and hopefully we get to play that, and after that, then we'll definitely rebook those Galway, Cork, and Dublin shows as well, and hopefully then in the new year, then we can play some bigger gigs and hopefully some festivals next year. But yeah, just playing it
Brilliant.
by ear
Yeah.
at the moment.
Well, I hope for your sake and for my sake, because I wouldn't mind watching you gig. Just that it gets back to some normality, hopefully, because yeah, it's been a rough, long few months. So hopefully everyone just gets back into going to gigs, enjoying them, you performing at gigs, and just I suppose back to life in
Yeah.
some sort of fashion. But yeah, just to bring along, like, in terms of what do you want to do moving forward? Like, what's your next big plan for the band?
I suppose like the obviously as you said there, like gigs haven't been around, so I definitely just want to gig as much as possible over the next few months. And try and get outside the country as well. I think like even if
I'm with you
we
on that
do,
one. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, even if we're
Yeah.
not playing to crowds elsewhere, like I just want to get around, like because music, like we should travel. Like it's been like such a not part of our lives for a while, but it's just made me realize like even if we are playing to like 10 people in a pub that we've never heard of in like some town in England that's
Yep.
like never heard of us, it's still going to be a bit of a laugh, and you're going to have fun with your friends, like so that's
100%.
definitely something I want to do is just try and travel as much as I can with music. So
Course, but it's 10 people who have never heard you or possibly
exactly,
never
yeah.
heard you. They talk to 20 people, 30 people when they go home. If you impress, which you will do, being like, have you heard this band? They look you up. It's all just a domino effect. So the more you get out there, the more success will happen.
Yeah.
So it's brilliant. I suppose that's really covered everything I wanted to ask you, and I really appreciate your time. Is there anything last question? So for your fans or followers, what's the one message you'd say to them about your music and about the band?
Um, the one thing, never expect us to release the same song twice. Like like we're always gonna keep pushing forward in terms of our genre or our style of music. Like
Evolving
even
like
if
that.
evolving, yeah, like because and even like I'm looking at songs that I have down in the pipeline that might not come out for a year or so, and I'm like, this is so different to what we're doing now, and I'm like, will it even work? But then like every time that comes into my head, I have to tell myself that doesn't even matter, like because if you
Yep.
like it and the rest of the lads like it, then surely other people will like it, and even if people get alienated by the type of music that we release down the line, it doesn't really matter, like, because music should be for yourself, and it's additional if someone else likes it, you know.
I
So
agree, and there's a thrill in taking that risk as well.
mm,
That's what it should be. I mean, that it at the end of the day, you are an artist and it is a creative process. So it's not, it shouldn't always be monotonous. It shouldn't be structured. It should be what comes to you, what you're experiencing in life at that time. And just
mm,
basically, I suppose, expressing that what you are experiencing at the time. But
mm.
yeah, it's been unbelievable to chat to you. And I hope you get gigs soon enough.
Nice one,
And I
man.
hope to have you back on this show sometime soon.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much. Dylan Flynn and the Dead Poets. You can find them on streaming platforms and on Spotify, and hopefully we'll see you in a few gigs soon enough. Appreciate having you on.
Cheers, man.